You talked previously about lack of confidence. How much would you mentally beat yourself up over things?
Well, honestly, when writing that first book, I don't think I beat myself up about it too much because I didn't really have a plan of what I was going to do with it. I just wanted to do it. So in that sense, I think it was easier because it was more about getting it done. It's writing a novel at that time to me seemed like such an insurmountable challenge. I mean, it really seemed like climbing a mountain or something crazy. I was like, so even if I could just do it, I would have been happy. Like that was all I was really sort of thinking about at that time. I'd say the confidence more comes from like in screenplays and TV writing, things where you really need to put yourself out there. I mean, I worked that writing job that I talked about that I got really came about because finally, after many years and many opportunities where I could have put myself out there, I just started. Yeah, I don't know, maybe it was just the right environment. It was a very creative, kind of young company and everyone was super friendly and chill. Maybe I hadn't had the right environment yet, but I just started to say like, hey, the development executive would, I remember one time he was like kind of pulling out his hair and I was like, oh, what's wrong? He's like, oh, I forgot, we have to shoot this sizzle tomorrow and I need a script and I didn't write it and now I'm screwed. And I was like, oh, I'll write it for you. And he's like, can you do that? And I was like, well, sure. And I was like, I figured, how bad could it be? Like they needed something and they didn't have it. So I figured anything's better than that, So I wrote it up and he took it home. And then he called me actually from the road and said, hey, I faxed it. I sent your script to the boss and, he loved it. And he said, who wrote it? And I said, Andrew did. And he was like really surprised, So from that point on, I started writing all of their, their sizzle reels on all their pitches. And they actually optioned several shows from me. They didn't get made, but they that was sort of where I started realizing that, there's no harm in putting yourself out there. I just, once I got a little positive feedback, it was easier, but I should have been doing that years ago. I mean, always, if you have ideas, share them, put them out there. Even if people say no, it can't hurt. You're going to hear a lot of no's in this business, so you might as well get used to it, but you never know.
So do you think it's having confidence or the rejections don't sting as much? And so then you're like, oh well, I'll just keep going.
Probably a little of both. I mean, certainly I think as you get older, it just starts to get easier because you just inevitably accumulate more rejections. I mean, it's like dating, like when you're in high school, it's the end of the world if the girl you like won't go to the dance with you. But when you're 40, like it's just another, okay, on to the next one, So I don't know what the answer is, but I think it's really important not to let rejection discourage you. I mean, I just think that's what it all comes down to. You're going to face rejection. Finding your own way to face that and overcome it and just keep going and keep trying things, I think is really what's going to separate, the winners from the losers.
Can we go back to when you first came to LA and talk about confidence? When you maybe got off the plane, or I don't know if you drove out here?
Well, I think when I came out to LA, I was super confident because we had this movie and like we thought it was going to be great, and we thought we were going to be like the next, I don't know, like Clerks or whatever was the big indie thing at that time. And it didn't go that route, but even so, like we were already on to the sort of the next thing, So I think really what it was I think it's super important in anything, whether it's writing novels, screenplays, relationships, anything. I always call it, or I say you need to be careful you don't give into lottery thinking. It's like that idea that this one thing is it, and if this one thing doesn't work out, you're screwed. That's it, it's over. Or if it does work out, that it's going to make you suddenly you're rich and on easy street. In my experience, that's just not the way it works. I mean, sure, maybe it works like that for a very small percentage of people. Like that's why I call it lottery thinking. But those are the people you tend to hear about. But even if you look at really successful people that, write a screenplay that does really well and launches their career, or that sell their first novel, even me, and I'm not saying I'm super successful at all, but like even my first novel, it's not really, I'd written 4 or 5 half novels and dozens of short stories. You don't see all the work that's kind of hiding in the shadows. You know, you just see that one thing. And so you think, if I could just get this one thing, I'll have it made. And so I think that I kind of gave into that with that one script, you know, that I thought would get made. You know, there's no reason why I couldn't have kept shopping that script around, or why wasn't I working on another script, you know, to follow that up. I mean, that went on for, you know, probably that whole option period was probably about 2 years. You know, I certainly could have written other things, but I just got very tunnel vision focused, you know, on that one thing happening. And when it didn't happen, that just kind of, like I said, took the wind out of my sails, and I just kind of gave up for a while after that. And that was, in my opinion, a big mistake, you know, on my part.
But you didn't go, quote unquote, back home. You stayed out here.
No, because at that point I was pretty established here in terms of working. I had, you know, I had a job and I had a girlfriend and a life. And so I didn't go back home. And I don't think I consciously gave up. Like, I still thought in my head, oh, I'll work on this. And I still had ideas and stuff. But in terms of the amount of work I put into it and the amount of effort I put into it, I could see I really kind of just let it slide from that point. I sort of stopped putting myself out there, you know, and that was a mistake.
Do you think that the fact that you finished the first novel, that gave you confidence?
That certainly gave me confidence. I think there was a lot of things. I mean, I finished the first novel, and then a friend of mine, she was a English major. She was one of my very good friend's wife. She had been an English major. She had done some freelance editing, and she knew I was working on it. And she said, as a birthday gift, I'll edit it for free for you as an edit. So I had done one edit, like where I just sent it off to a service, but I knew it still needed a little more work. So I was like, okay, great. Like, it'll have like 2 edits, and that'll get it into shape. And she read it, and she, you know, she also had a very favorable reaction. She was like, this is really good. Like, you know, I got to the end and I was just like turning pages to see what happened. And so, you know, she's still a friend, still not a completely unbiased opinion, but, you know, it was like a little bit more unbiased than my girlfriend, you know. So each step of the way, I'm like, okay, people seem to like this, you know, maybe it's not bad, you know. And then really, you know, I ended up self-publishing it through Amazon. And I did that because I already had some projects optioned at that point, the TV shows I had mentioned, and I had kind of gone through that process a few times, you know, where you're sort of dependent on someone else, you know, in essence, unfortunately. And I just didn't want to do it again. You know, I mean, I knew I would have to for other feature, you know, screenplays and things like that. So I said, maybe I'll just do this for me and I'll just put it out. And I was fine, you know, if no one buys it or if it doesn't do well, that's fine. It's out there. I wrote it, I put it out there. That was really all I wanted from it, you know. And I put it out and it did well, like not amazing. I certainly couldn't quit working off of it at the time, but it did well. And more importantly, the reviews were really good. And they were, even more importantly than being really good, like I said, they were exactly what I had hoped. You know, I mean, I put it out there saying, I want this to be like a mental vacation for someone. I want people to feel like they've gone to Japan. I want them to like kind of get an experience outside their normal life. And I want them to feel like they saw like this really awesome action movie. And that's what the reviews were like. I mean, pretty much all of my reviews for all of my books, the 2 things that come up more than anything else are, you know, I really feel like I was there, and it feels very cinematic. And I'm sure that comes from the fact that I had much more experience at that point with screenplays than I did with novels. And I guess that translated. But so when I started getting those reviews, I'd say that probably was the biggest confidence builder, because these are people who not only don't know me, they spent money and bought it and they liked it. So I think once I saw that, I was like, okay, like I have something here and I need to start, you know, pursuing this.
Did you promote the book at all once you had it on Amazon?
I did. You know, there's a whole sort of, once I decided I was going to self-publish it, I did do quite a bit of research into how that works. And there's a lot of information out there. There are a lot of other self-published authors. And so I didn't just go into it blind. And I actually do consulting with other authors to sort of help them, because you really do need a plan. You know, I mean, I think when I launched it, there were probably like 5 million books in the Amazon store. Now I think there's 10 million, you know, so if you just, you know, squirt it out there and don't do anything, you're probably not, you know, going to get, you know, if your goal is just to publish a book and say it's out there, that's fine. I mean, I think that's a worthy goal for many people. But if you want to make money off of it, you absolutely have to have sort of a marketing plan. So what I did was, while that editor, while that second editor was working on it, I wrote a novella that was a prequel. And so I started giving away the novella for free to build up a list of an email list of readers. And then when the other book was ready, then I could email all those readers and say, okay, now the sequel is available. You know, and that was sort of how I started it.
So sorry, so Tokyo Black was the novel, but then you were preparing it, and then you wrote the novella and gave it away for free?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So because it went through those 2 rounds of editing, the novel, in the second round, the very kind woman who did it for free for me, you know, it took her a while, like, you know, because she was working a job at the same time. So while she was doing that, I'd say that probably took 2 or 3 months, like, for her to finish. So while she did that, I wrote the novella, which I, you know, directly designed as a sort of prequel that would lead into it. So.
How many words is a novella?
That one was about 20,000.
And then the novel was 85?
That was about 85,000.
Interesting, okay. And so you gave that away for free, and then, so you had your website, because you have a beautiful website, by the way, because you have these cool maps.
Oh, thank you.
Or one map that I looked at where it has like the different books, and then it shows which country it corresponds to, and you know, it's beautiful.
A friend of mine he's also an author, his name is Aiden, he made that map, he lives in Australia. And
cool.
I've worked with him on a few projects, and he put that together. I could never do that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But he made it for me. But yeah, exactly. So I would give it away through my website. I also, you know, when you're an independent publisher, or when you're an independent author, you are really a publisher as well. And so I had to learn quite a bit about advertising, marketing, and I started to dip my toe in all of that. And I ran Facebook ads. You know, I did swaps with other authors in the genre where they would give away my book to their readers, and I would give away their book, and we would share, you know, interested readers' email addresses and things like that. There's a, you know, once you start researching, none of these things are super like groundbreaking or hard to find. Like once you decide you want to go down that path, there's a lot of resources out there. There's groups on Facebook, there's books about how to do it, and you know, these are all sort of the standard tactics you'll hear people talk about.
How did you know who your audience was when you first started?
I don't think I did. I mean, other than that, I mean, look, I think, you know, definitely there's a big thing in writing books about finding your ideal reader. And I think that's true to some degree, but I also think people go a little overboard with it because, I mean, if I'm writing spy fiction, that's a pretty well-tread genre. You know, I mean, if you like spy fiction, you know you like spy fiction, you know, or if you like science fiction, you know you like science fiction. So I never really worried too much about trying to pinpoint, you know, is my ideal reader a 40-year-old, you know, middle manager with, you know, 2 dogs and whatever. Some people do, and if that works for them, great. But I just thought of it, I just tried to write a book I would like. Honestly, that was really what it came down to.